we want to thank you, listeners, for all your support, your ongoing efforts to become a brand ambassador for Imagine Fitting In. There's a number of ways that you can support our efforts here. Number one is share it on your social media link. Share the episode, please. And be sure to hit the link, hit the button, subscribe button on YouTube. And we are also available on Apple and Spotify. And number two, you can please consider making any donation that you feel comfortable with. It's always appreciated to advance our efforts here and even increase the level of production and bring you more and more great guests from here in Dayton, across the country, and even around the world. So thank you again for those who have donated to date, and you can find the link in our show notes. And then finally, number three, I love the idea of guest referrals. So if you know anyone who has a great story, would like to share their efforts in the community, about their work, their contributions, their efforts, from all mediums. We love a good story. Mentors playing a huge role in all of our lives. And here at Imagine Fitting In, we're trying to highlight the importance of mentors and encourage more of the same to our young people in this community and potentially, extended area. And please consider that. We'd love to hear from you. Again, the show notes, you can reach me at thebalanceprofessor@gmail.com, and we hope to hear from you. So again, we hope you enjoyed this episode. It's always a blast. I feel it's a pleasure and an honor and privilege to be doing what I'm doing. So I look forward to hearing from you. And again, please enjoy, share, subscribe, donate, and become a brand ambassador, and even just refer a guest. So thanks again. You take care. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.
I want to add one more thing.
Go ahead.
And this is, I remembered, Dr. Mays used to say, Kevin, it's your curiosity that saved you. Stay curious.
And we're live today on Imagine Fitting In podcast. And I want to welcome my guest, Kevin Lawler.
Thank you, Greg. It's a pleasure to be here.
Welcome, welcome. Kevin and I were introduced to each other through a local fitness facility. And Kevin became my client. And that was that almost 3 years ago?
It could have been.
Right?
2 to 3.
Okay.
Probably closer to 3.
And, I remember it was near after COVID.
Yeah.
When everything opened back up.
Yep.
And Kevin was looking to engage my services, which we had a nice time, enjoyable time.
Always want to put balance back in my life.
There you go. All right. So Kevin, normally where I start the podcast is talk a little bit about where were you born? Where did you grow up?
Okay.
Where you call home today? And, what was family life like and your parents and stuff?
Oh, well, that's a great idea. I was born in north of here, town of St. Mary's. It's a canal town along the Miami-Dade Canal.
Just go ahead and bring
my family.
You can bring it closer if you want. Yeah.
My family were retail florists. We had greenhouses, and we had gift shops. We ended up with 3 stores.
Nice.
We were kind of a regional player.
Okay.
St. Mary's, Salina, Minster, New Bremen. And that's ended up about a 70-year run. I came back from college in '84, and we revamped a Ford agency my dad had.
You can bring it a
bought.
little closer.
And
there you go.
And turned that into a shop, and then restructured, relogoed, and took a family, and I'm not trying to be pejorative when I say mom and pop, but kind of took it and shifted it into a more modern facility to meet the market, and we almost tripled in about 5 years.
That's fantastic.
It was quite a run. It was a lot of fun. I did, floral design. We did it so we could make it rapidly. We cut delivery times. We had big rolling carts into big refrigerators, and we could roll them out to the trucks. I mean, what's interesting, it's kind of like what Ober's does, only we were doing that back in the 80s.
Okay.
And 90s.
All right. Well, sort of like some of those classic Henry Ford concepts, like,
Yeah.
okay, how can we streamline, get it out
Exactly.
the door, how
Yep.
efficiency. Okay. And then, all right.
And
so,
increased quality.
okay. And so this was a whole family endeavor. Was it like you, your parents, and did you have siblings?
Yeah, I've got an older brother, 12 years, still lives there, and then a younger brother's out on the East Coast. And, we all pitched in during high school and college, and I came back to run it up until about, mid-90s, and then I was called into marriage, and then I was called into the ministry.
Oh, okay.
And then that took a whole new bent. I went to United here in Dayton and got my Master's of Divinity.
Okay.
And we've been pastoring,
When you say United, what's the full name of that?
United Theological Seminary.
Okay.
My apologies. It's out
Nice.
in Trotwood.
Okay.
It was a great experience. A couple things that were formational for me is, well, one, biblical Greek and Hebrew were good, but the hospital chaplaincy that I took was really transformative. And then being a pastor of a congregation that we had some aging people in, and I became more and more aware of the suffering that was going on. And at the same time, if I may, my mother started to decline, and I would lay in bed at night, tossing and turning, worrying about her, and I can't do this, and so my wife at the time and I decided we're just going to take this on. So it was a lot of fun for the first. The last year was tough.
Right.
I mean, the whole thing's kind of tough.
Believe me, I know.
She had vascular issues, so she had kind of, I guess they call it vascular dementia, and but she was doing quite well. And the reason I tell you all this is it plays into my next calling as we progress, because all this behind the scenes is transformative to me and increasing my awareness of health and our decline, and not much can be done about it at the time.
Right.
And I was helpless, and I'll never forget. I just prayed one time. She was getting a UTI, and people when they get UTIs, urinary tract infections, they kind of lose their brain, and I'm just my guts are in knots, and I just said, Lord, let this cup pass. What I heard was stay the course.
There you go.
And that's what we did until her death. And then, I grieved for a bit and pastored the church that I used to take her to part-time, and they were very supportive. And then I took another church up around Bell Fountain, and I was at a Rotary meeting. And this kind of ties into what we're talking about today, if you'll indulge me. I overheard someone, and this was not lost on me, but out of the corner of my ear, I heard bioelectromagnetic energy regulation, and I go, what?
Now, when was this?
This was in 2016, 2017.
Okay. But let me, that being said,
Yeah.
that's fascinating. I want to take a little step back.
Please.
I was going to ask you, when you were a kid, the podcast is all about mentors and, inspiring young lives. When you were a kid, did you have any visions or dreams or kind of inspirations at a kid, like dreams that you wanted to be something or do something particular?
Not really. I was just trying to survive.
Yeah.
It was a tough environment for me.
Okay.
A lot of bullying, just a lot of judgmentalism, limited thoughts, and I was relatively, as later become to discover, I don't want to sound too self-absorbed, but my IQ and my emotional intelligence are high, and that's a double-edged sword.
Just go ahead and bring that in just a little bit closer.
Not only do I remember,
You're good.
not only do I have a capacity to remember traumas, it affects me more deeply than it does some people. I can't just slough it off. So that was affecting me.
So like almost a hypersensitivity in general to like what the norm that we've all experienced as kids, right?
Yeah, and a lot of bullying. They would come up. We were, and I don't, you can edit this out if this goes flat. But we were perceived. We had a family business. We were perceived middle upper income in a low income area.
Sure.
And
I get it.
The foundry was right down the street. I could see there and watch them pour steel, and the paper mill used to be there. So we were right there in Rabbit Town is what we called it, or the wrong side of the tracks. And so I had to walk to school back and forth, and they would come at you 2 or 3 at a time. It was
just that angst and that kind of like
it was that constant angst,
right,
and that affected me that affected me.
Sure. I mean, when we talk about like blue collar, white collar, that's really like a cut down the line here.
Yeah.
And in terms of conditions, and back in the day, we have come a long way in terms of that. But like what you said, family surviving, doing jobs that were there, making their way, not necessarily, optimal conditions for stress on the family when if somebody is doing a job or has to do a job that they completely hate or they don't not really like it, but it's like a necessity for survival, and that scrapping. And, again, I totally identify with the other side of the tracks.
In a family business, if it doesn't get done, somebody's got to get it done.
Right.
And it's not like a job. And, we could be there and the customer would come in, we'd go wait on them. Or if the boiler acted up in the greenhouses in the middle of the night, the alarm would go off. And then after I peeled myself off the ceiling, I had to go down. We had a coal-fired boiler, which was a whole nother story.
Was the university you mentioned, was that the first university you attended?
Oh, I attended Ohio State. I went through the Ohio State University.
Okay, tell us about what were you into at Ohio State at the time?
This is great. I didn't know we were going to go this far afield, but thank you.
This podcast is about this transition, this growth, this journey.
Wow, yes.
And I want to share, and because everyone out there has an existing story.
Oh yeah.
And the goal of this podcast is to create nuggets. I always tell everybody that I don't really know what I'm doing here, Kevin. All I know is I want to hear stories about raw and real, as comfortable as you want to get, to highlight times in our life that could be life-changing, and sometimes they are very negative, impactful on us that make us do a change.
Right.
Sometimes very positive, and there's people along the way.
Right.
And so this is about mentors.
This is fun.
So at Ohio State, what at the time?
Yeah.
Obviously, you probably went right after high school.
Yeah, I did. Went right into high school and went into the agricultural industries program, which was quite broad-based and was better education than I realized, because not only did I have my agriculture, my landscape, my greenhouse classes and landscape classes and tree identification and agronomy and all this, also had business and marketing and electives, and it was quite well-rounded as I look back.
So let me ask you, so you literally, you had that family business, then you went to Ohio State, so you're kind of like thinking still like the family business, and
that's what I was drawn to.
Got it.
That's what I was drawn to.
Okay.
I didn't feel I had, I just never felt other options. Nothing else seemed to attract me other than to go back, and it was a way to honor my family and a way to honor the business. It was a good business. It's all I knew.
Very honorable. So you complete Ohio State. During that time at Ohio State, were there any teachers, any situation, any teachers that stands out?
Yeah, these are great questions. This was very transformative.
Okay.
Several things. I was at a fortunate enough to be in an agricultural fraternity, Delta Theta Sigma, and these guys, we were professional, social, and agricultural fraternity. So we knew how to party, but we knew how to study. We had a good grade point average. These were quality farm kids.
Okay.
And they knew how to work, and they knew how to have fun.
Right.
And they understood life and death, and they understood production. They understood life at least the way I understood it.
That's a great nugget. Continue, please.
But down there on 13th Avenue at Ohio State, right up the street was the Lutheran Memorial Chapel, which was where I grew up Lutheran. So I was just drawn to that. So I went there, and the pastors there were ahead of the game as far as mental health and understanding things, and directing me in ways that I could really get some help in, and were supportive. In fact, I'm getting a little emotional as I think about it, because you talk about finding a port in a storm, or you talk about finding an oasis in a desert. That was kind of it. There were those two gentlemen.
Now, I'm sorry, what were the names?
Kurt Gast and, I can't remember the other one. They were both great. There were two pastors there.
Okay. Shout out to Kurt Gast.
Yeah, I think he's still with us. I haven't talked to him in a long time, but he helped. We bonded there, and I had another community. But also in my class, my landscape and floriculture form and college, I had a very special marketing professor by the name of Jerry Robertson. And Jerry was quite a friend to me and quite a mentor. And this is both joy and tragedy at the same time, because he was. We were going to go to we were going to go to Columbia to do some marketing research and stuff. We had plans to work together and things, even during or before I went back to the family business. But my senior year, in fact, we were having a big banquet, and Jerry didn't make it. And we were wondering what's going on. Ends up he was killed on the highway on a traffic accident.
Oh my gosh.
So there I am, my senior year, lost one of the dearest people in my life that was kind, and we had a lot of adventures planned, and then that just
oh my goodness,
that just kind of.
So you obviously that's a time in your life that you stands out. Do you remember how you adapted and what steered you the next direction from there?
Well, I learned how to grieve, and I grieved with my classmates the best we could.
That's another nugget, man. Wow.
And we just hung together, or I just put one foot in front of the other. A lot of life I find, and this comes from one of my mentors, N.T. Wright. It's like signposts in the mist. And I'll never forget. We were out.
Oh, I like that, signpost in the mist. Meaning like you can see it, but it's not clear as bell.
Let me give you an example of how this really drove it home. We'd have to deliver flowers over the holidays. Well, it got dark early.
Sure.
And it would get foggy. And you're out on these country roads. There's no lines on the roads. And the colors of the road and the ditch were very similar.
Oh,
and
I've experienced some of that.
And that's where I was. So there's a fog setting in. I'm driving along. And I have to go slow, and I can't find these addresses. You can't even see the mailboxes. But all I saw was a signpost in the mist where my headlights would hit it. And I knew if I steered that direction, I could get there, and then I'd see maybe the next signpost or catch a glimpse of a mailbox or a farm light.
And this was back working for your
family business.
Family
I was in my
business.
20s at that time.
Right, and this is after Ohio State.
Or during. I don't remember exactly.
Okay.
It was right in that time period.
Uh-huh.
And I'll also, maybe this is related or not, I'll never forget, I was driving home from Ohio State in my grandmother's 72 Nova. This was back in the 80s, and it was a snowstorm. And up around Bell Fountain area on 33, the snow really blows. That's the highest point in Ohio.
Okay.
And all I could do to get home was I had to follow this semi-truck. We were both going. I had to stay in his ruts. The road was so bad.
Right.
And these weren't fancy four-wheel drive cars. This was my grandmother's 72 four-door Nova.
And that's a rear
wheel.
drive.
And I'm sitting there going, what am I doing? But I had to get home with the holidays and I had to get home so I could get to work so I could help. And that was tedious, and God bless that driver. I was so scared I had my high beams on. And, my brother is into cars and stuff, so we had Gila flamethrowers on this Nova, and I was just blinding this poor guy. He finally had to stop, and he walked back to me in this snowstorm and said, please turn your lights down. I felt so bad. So my mentor, my leader in this particular case, paid a price to have me follow him by accident in this snowstorm, and it was... so it was. These are times when, for me, it just like going back to the grief. It's a signpost in the midst. It's a wheel rut in the snow of the road.
Which we know in life, they're there. We do our best to avoid, negative impact, so to speak, and then try to get to the next point. So what? So you're back. Okay, so you lose your really good mentor friend.
Oh yeah.
After at Ohio State, now you're back working with your family. You said you were in your 20s.
Yeah.
And so where did you? So do you? It sounds like you still end up putting your focus in your 20s into with your family business.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then what happened? What's the next step phase of your world?
So I built that up, and then I realized that, I've got to mention another mentor that came my way, and this is extremely transformative. And I was with the family business, which was extremely stressful for me.
Mm. Why do you think?
Generational gaps, illness, both physical and some mental illness, some anxiety and depression on certain areas, limitations, lack of sensitivity. I don't want to get too personal in this thing because
but
humanity got in the way. A family business, it's hard enough to be in business.
Right.
It's hard enough to have a job, but it's even harder to have a job in your family's business.
Yes. I can, listen, I can only imagine. I've kind of seen it firsthand in traces across my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because the dynamic of a corporation or a business or an entity in managerial and all that stuff, and then you throw in that humanity, human side, the connection, the family,
the anxiety,
how much emotions can be an energy blindly creating energy and distractions that seem justifiable to one, but other cannot identify. Sure.
And my dad was caught between a rock and a hard place. He wanted to be a mortician, which, I was kind of glad that didn't go that road. But what happened was Grandpa, who bought the business in 1932, died from E. coli in 1934, leaving Dad and his mother to run the business. And Grandpa had a heck of a job. He was working at a big supply house, and he was secretary-treasurer. So, he was well paid in the Depression. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, that was gone, and they had to run the... So I can't imagine the anxiety and the unfairness, because Dad wanted to go to college, and Dad wanted to...
had other thoughts and ideas about
and all of a sudden, the familial duty. So when I just did a sermon not too long ago on filial or familial duties, and how the son was to take over and
expectations.
Oh, it had to be tough on him, and then I think it ended up being tough on me. When hurt people hurt people.
Sure, that
it's a domino effect.
Exactly.
And back then, mental health and awareness and things like that, I was starting to get some awareness. Mm-hmm. And if I may, and you can,
please,
you have a good way of bringing things back into where they need to be. But I want to continue.
Yes, please.
I was in dire straits. I was
and what time? How old were you? At what time?
23, 24.
Okay.
Ish, maybe 25. No, I don't think it was that old. But I was sick. I was sick to my stomach. Terrible gastritis. Here I'm a 23-year-old, 24-year-old, supposed to have the time of his life, and I'm just sick. Stress, absolutely. I could watch myself. I could give myself diarrhea just sitting there. I was so angry, turning things inward. I'll never forget, I was watching Miami Vice and had a six-pack in Miami Vice, and I was so angry, turning that anger inward. I said, I want to give myself diarrhea, and I did. I mean, it wasn't, I wanted to, it just, I could feel it coming. And that's how, for me, that anger and that frustration was gut-wrenching. That's how.
You internalized it.
Absolutely. Well, as my size, I'm a pretty good sized fellow. We big guys, don't tend to be bullies. We don't want to fight because it hurts.
Right.
And so what we do, or what I did, was just turn it inward, because that's the only place I could go where I wouldn't hurt anybody. I would just tear me apart.
Right.
So I couldn't get the traction I wanted in the family business. I couldn't get the communications. I couldn't get my job title squared away. Like some people get a contract and a job title. I asked for that. I got nothing. I didn't get budgets. I mean, this is the tough part of a family business.
Okay, so you wanted to be more involved. You felt like you could.
Well, I was very involved.
Yes.
But I wanted boundaries and clarity.
Yes.
For example, I spent in 1995, we spent $30,000 on advertising, and Mom kind of chided me. I said, Mom, that's industry standards right there. We're at X.
Yes.
And you do 4%, and this is what that is. That's industry standards. Get me a budget to work with. Well, that doesn't happen in a small family business. And it's, that's the way they were used to doing it. I mean, we had a cigar box. I mean, back in the old days, that's what you did. You had a cash register, and you had
right.
So, we did things differently, and then we got ramped up into the computer world and stuff, for good or for ill, I'm not sure.
Right.
As I look back, I'm not so sure we did all the right things.
So you're kind of at that stage where, obviously, this sounds like a significant life-changing kind of time that.
Yes.
What was the catalyst? What was that breaking point where all of a sudden now, what was the next place that you went from there?
It was what we call a crisis, where that's where they get the term cross from. And it was I was really getting physically ill, and I went to my family doctor, who was a good friend. And he said, Kevin, there's nothing physically wrong with you. I said, oh, then there's something else. So set me up. So I started seeing a therapist, and that didn't go well. I just resented the hell out of paying somebody to be my friend.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have the right mindset. I just was angry and scared and hurt and couldn't get a handle on it.
There was a lot of energy that you built up that you were still holding on to.
And then the stigma of trying to reach out for mental health in an area that is bereft of growth and bereft of understanding and self-actualization and growth. And I'm fighting all this.
Right.
And I'm losing.
You have this natural ability that you had insight, or through it's if it's through life experiences where you were capable of identifying, like, this is not all there is or should be,
right? And
you're trying to think about, like, looking outside the box. You're in your existing space.
With all this horse manure, there's got to be a pony around here somewhere, as the joke goes.
There you go. So okay. So what happens? Right. What happens
next? I'm getting sick. And I had a relationship that didn't go well, and that broke off, and I was just down for the count. So And
again, you were about what? How old were you at this age?
24, 25.
Okay.
I'm in my room on a night, and I just fell to my ground, on my knees. And I said, God, you son of a bitch, either you show me a better way or you take me home. I've had it.
Wow, at 24.
At 24.
Whoa.
And that, it's almost like God said, well, now we can have a proper conversation. Or now that you're ready to listen, I got something for you. 2 weeks later. Now think of this. Yeah. 2 weeks later, I meet Dr. Mays. The coincidental is just so uncoincidental.
There's no coincidences.
Here is a PhD in psychotherapy, a Presbyterian pastor, PhD from Northwestern, by the way.
Whew, that's no small feat.
Played Michigan football. Had some of the largest churches in Chicago. In fact, he was one of the ones that were instrumental in integrating African Americans into the North Shore in the 70s in Chicago.
Wow. Again, what's his name?
Bruce Mays, Dr. Bruce Mays.
A shout out to Dr. Bruce Mays. That is
He'll
like
have to hear you from the other side.
wonderful. Okay. But what a wonderful, it's just historical. Okay. Continue. It's amazing.
And so we became best friends. And it was first started out as a therapy, but I think
So you found him like as a
I
referral
was
for
led. No, I was led.
how'd
He
you-
was a pastor in St. Mary's.
and you just happened to come across
Well,
him, or how?
Yeah, I was. Well, Mom said something.
Yes.
You ought to meet this Dr. Mays.
Oh my goodness, your mom delivered.
I think so.
She
think that's what
delivered, dude.
She mentioned it, or somebody mentioned. So
Okay.
I took him out to lunch, and boy, we were off to the races. And he ended up saying, "Kevin, you're my best friend."
Oh, that's wonderful.
And
Now,
he
how
was
much
60
older?
He was in his 60s or he was in his late 50s.
He's
at the
mentoring
time.
you. That's
Oh,
it's amazing.
It really is. I mean,
And if that-
everything I need. I mean, this guy played Michigan football. This
Yeah.
guy played for Canton football, was a sports star, but also was in a gang in Canton. So he knew how to fight,
Right.
but he also knew how to love.
Exactly.
And that's what I needed.
That's beautiful. That. Talk about like a example and just real right in your life face of the polarity of life
Oh.
and the extremes. And then here you are wandering in the middle.
Yeah.
So then that relationship, where'd that go? Like how'd that?
Oh, it was. I mean, it was just. It was just. I had really some neurotic tendencies that would surface, and I
Sure.
just couldn't catch them in time or couldn't slow down, and he'd help me deal with them. And I was so terrified of pulling away because I was so enraptured in that culture,
Yes.
family business and stuff, and it took every fiber of my being. I would even sneak over. Did anybody see me talking to the psychologist?
Oh my goodness.
What'll people? I was caught in the what'll people think.
Sure.
I was caught in the, you don't do that kind of thing.
Right.
Well, geez, I mean, it was really, as I look back on some of the people, and it really was very sad, but it's the way it was.
Right.
And I think
Circumstance.
hopefully culture's becoming more enlightened. I don't know. I hope, but at least I'm becoming more enlightened because I was not going to stay where I was.
Wow. Just a little break here. Another great episode. I hope you are enjoying Imagine Fitting In podcast. And just a reminder here, please remember to hit the subscribe button because we love to feel you a part of our Imagine Fitting In family. And if you want to become a brand ambassador, we'd love it if you would share this link on social media, through your email, all your friends. You can help with us with donations, any small donation, big or large, whatever you can manage, to help encourage us and support our efforts here. And you'll find that link in the show notes. And finally, again, a reminder, please refer guests to us. You can find me and contact me at thebalanceprofessor@gmail.com. Love to hear from you. All right? So I hope you continue enjoying Imagine Fitting In. All right? Till next time. So
It was death or growth.
So
There was no choice. No
where
middle
where were you launched to in your next kind of adventure or terms life journey after the time spent with him? And now you getting into your 30s now, or
ground. Yeah, I was in my late 30s. We were 25 years ago. In fact, I preached his funeral just a week before I took my new church,
okay.
and that was not easy.
So-
I didn't get a chance to grieve that.
So tell us about how that whole transition from your relationship with him and your times in your life, what you were doing, and then what you said you went on to a ministry, or did you form a ministry? Then
That was during my time with him.
Okay.
In fact, I got married late in life. I was about 38 when I got
Okay.
married and moved down here to Kettering. And he and I would go back and forth to visit with him and took care of my mom and all that kind of stuff. And he was we would maintain that friendship. I'm kind of losing track of my thought. So I said I was trying to do different things. I'd left a family business. I'd moved to Kettering. I was in the middle of things, trying to figure out what to do next and stuff. And all of a sudden, I felt this calling. I mean, it was like something hooked me under the sternum and just pulled me forward that I could not get away from. And I'll never forget. This is the second time you got to watch what you pray for, because damn sure you're going to get it in one way or the other. I'm in bed one night. This was 39, 40-ish, 41, give or take. I said, Lord, I can't do it. Whatever I'm doing, screwing up.
Right.
I'm yours. Whatever you want. Just help me. And then it just kind of boiled up something just, now that you're ready to listen, I got some more,
Okay.
Hooked me under the sternum, and the next thing I know, I'm looking at seminaries and investigating what it would take to do that. And
The power of prayer and the obviously you were interested in not only feeling like you were benefiting from all that, but you wanted to explore it more for yourself. And either I would have guessed either subconsciously or unconsciously.
We're looking for healing. I'm looking for healing.
Yeah, looking for healing, and
anywhere I could get it.
And the fact that you probably, I think your story goes right, that you went in and actually went into the ministry, and then you became
an ordained Presbyterian pastor.
Nice. And so how long were you doing that, and what kind of
since 2003?
2003.
Yeah, so 20. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
I've been a pastor part-time and some little full-time for about 20 years.
Was this in Kettering?
Middletown.
In Middletown.
Kettering, Middletown, and then up around Bell Fountain.
Okay. And would you have like parishes or
I'd have a
communities?
Church. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have your own church?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
And where that was in Middletown?
That was in Middletown.
Okay.
Presbyterian Church in Middletown.
Nice.
In fact, I was a student pastor there and had to mentor. And then the mentor got sick and everybody's dying, I mean,
right. Well,
he
this
passed
life,
away.
right,
That is the way of the life. He passed away, and they wanted me to fill his shoes,
nice.
which was quite a compliment.
Yes.
Because they didn't have to. And but we got along very well.
And how long were you there?
About 14, 15 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
I still preach there once in a while.
Nice.
Yeah, I still go back.
That's wonderful to be still connected to the community. That's that.
Yeah, it was a
that
good
life stream of what we call that humanity, basically, right, and community.
Yeah.
So now, what year? Because I know you're into new things now. Mm-hmm. What year that you decided to take another turn? And was there anybody that helped you with that turn in terms of what you're doing currently now? And we're going to talk more about what you're into now and what how you're helping people.
Let me think back to that. See, Mom had passed. I'd taken the full-time church up around Bell Fountain. I was at the Rotary, and I overheard someone talk about this.
There we go back to?
Swinging back to what we're saying.
Yeah, what were we talking about statement?
2016, 17.
Okay.
Around that time, overheard someone, and I started looking into this device.
What was that electromagnetic?
Device is, it's called bioelectromagnetic energy regulation. It's an acronym. So the company's name is BEMER or BEMER in Europe.
Okay.
And as I looked into it, it's an energy device.
Did you just you happened to hear somebody talking about...
Overheard, yeah.
Overheard.
I mean, they were 10 feet away.
And did you know about the actual origins of that, or you did from your own research you discovered?
Yeah, it was. I heard it out of the corner of my ear, and I go, what?
And you had enough to investigate.
Heard enough about. There was some. I worked with magnetics with another company in the past, and didn't get the results I wanted, but still understood the Earth's magnetic field and understood the physics that there is something missing that we really need. And I've been in health and wellness through nutrition and stuff off and on throughout the years. But what happened was I started doing my homework and started looking into this. I go, oh, my God, if this is what they say it is, this thing's a game changer.
So tell us about So we've come to understand how you came across this pronounced BEMER in Europe,
and BEMER in the U.S.
being in the U.S.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, did you have any personal experiences with it? Did you before, like, because I know you're kind of like all in with this. How did the BEMER or BEMER affect you?
Well, I was so curious about the technology as I looked into it. I would drive 45 minutes and pay the gal $35 for a half-hour session to experience this thing because I was just so enamored. Because I kept saying, "What if? What if?
What did you experience with those sessions?
After about 8 weeks, and I was using it totally incorrectly because it's supposed to be every day, twice a day. But I was using it once a week. I started noticing my back started feeling better. That had bothered me since high school, by the way. And it would be like a knife twisted in my back, and it started mitigating. And then I looked at this thing, and I looked at the research behind it, and then I started looking that there was a business attached to it. And
Is there a layman's type explanation of how that helped you, or you come to discover how that would potentially help you with your situation?
Yeah, let me see if I can distill it down.
Okay.
What BEMER does, BEMER has a patented signal that nobody else has. And it uses PEMF, or pulse electromagnetic fields, to move this frequency into the body. It is 3 times more effective than anything else on the market.
And so what does those pulses do in the body?
Well, that frequency that BEMER has, and only BEMER has, stimulates these teeny tiny little vessels called arterioles and venules. These vessels have a muscle sheath, and this particular frequency stimulates and increases that pulsation because 75% of blood flow comes from these vessels, not the heart. The heart is only 25%. The whole body, every organ, every cell must be soaked in blood all the time, every day.
Right.
As we age, we lose 1 to 2% of microcirculation every year, and we just slide into oblivion. And then when I heard that, I looked back at my mother. I looked back at the hospital chaplaincy. I looked at my parishioners and how they were aging, and I said, "That's the causation. It is the foundation because the cells don't get oxygenated, the toxins don't get removed."
So the normal, what we call the process of aging.
Yes.
This is obviously something that occurs.
Yes.
And then through whatever circumstance, environmental or genetic, whatever, people suffer from various maladies or find themselves in situations based on, their control or not control.
Right. Keep going.
And then you have found, and the BEMER has been a supplemental tool to complement, like, if somebody's dealing with a particular situation. Is it like a complementary tool to help?
Adjunctive is
to kind of
adjunctive,
support.
It's not alternative medicine, it's integrative medicine.
Got it.
In fact, there's a study out on PubMed. In fact, there's a lot of studies on BEMER on PubMed.
Spell BEMER again.
BEMER.
Okay.
On PubMed. Now, PubMed.gov is a repository of all kinds of research throughout all kinds of put on by the National Institutes of Health. So it's a credible website, peer-reviewed. BEMER is the most researched medical device of its kind that does this. So what the study has shown, there's a study on PubMed called the Theory of Aging, and what the final sentence was, the impairment of microcirculation is aging. That is what aging is microcirculation deteriorates, cellular health deteriorates, then the body starts pulling up toxins, and that's where your cells grow rogue.
Right.
And that's where
chaos can begin.
There we go. And that's the demise, is the lack of microcirculation.
So are there any particular maladies, challenges that the BEMER has been associated with that truly complement, like, an existing condition, and if it's minor or like terminal situations?
Well, I just can give you my experience. I had a male going to the bathroom problem. I was urinating in Morse code, little dots and dashes. And in about 2 months, this thing fixed it. That's been 7 years ago.
And now, was that you doing it twice a day or whatever?
Yeah, I do it twice a day, and then we have another applicator I put over the prostate area, and that helped it. And I don't get sick. I would have had 14 sinus infections by now. I've only had 2.
I would say, we're going to have we'll have a link to various videos, information, resources for people to access what we're talking about. And so obviously it sounds like, you described a little bit about what value does BEMER bring.
Yeah.
Right.
And
now, are there any, if you have to say at the top of your head, is there any, would you say there are any top 3 or top 5 situations where they have had stand out, success and being attracted attention to, these other major research for these various, conditions?
Well, now this is where we get into is there evidence out there? Oh, yes. It's on PubMed. I can refer you to those studies.
Right.
I can refer you to Google Scholar. There are some compliance issues we're dancing around here because according to the FDA, we are not disease specific. However, we are an FDA 2 cleared medical device, and we move blood in healthy muscle tissue on a microcirculatory issue, and that changes everything.
Okay, so where it's interesting because you had mentioned this to me before in our time together. And I train everybody from just sedentary individuals that were never really athletic or move very much, to a high performance athletes and injury prevention. So, what is the experience? I know you mentioned before in terms of how is this technology, I could say, which FDA approved. Which again, do you have any, when I mentioned those top 3 or 5, is there any what from your experience, is there been any top 3 issues, medical, whatever challenges for people that this is shown to be beneficial?
And again, I'm dancing around the question on purpose.
Yes.
I have to. Because we are not disease specific.
So it's a broad base. Okay, so it's am I correct in saying?
There you go.
Am I correct in saying this is a broad based modality,
foundational?
Okay, that has definitely wellness plus sides, preventative plus wellness benefits, but it's not been direct. It's obviously not directly linked to a set answer to an issue. It's supportive in the big picture when people are right.
Imagine your body with better blood flow, better oxygen flow, better reduction of toxins in your body, the better immune boosting, better sleep. BEMER does all these things.
So it'd almost be like applying some icing on your cake if you're already doing a lot of the things that obviously in my field of wellness, right? Yeah. We know that our environment, our water, our air, our nutrition, our daily habits, our controllable factors, our exercise, our strength of our heart, our structural integrity, our weight, all those things, right?
I would say BEMER's not the icing, it's another layer. It is another foundational. It's as important as good water, good food, good air, good movement. Because BEMER does what none of these things can. BEMER does more than what exercise can.
On that micro level.
Microscopic, we're talking, you take your beard hair, shave it, cut it 5 different ways. That's the size vessel we affect. That's what we're dealing with.
Right. So this is probably the... what do you call it? How would I say this? The ultimate reality of this information that you're sharing with us, I believe I'm taking it, and tell me if I'm wrong, that as much as we can't control the aging process, and how technology we know is advancing, and watch out for AI. I'm sure, and it's part of my two-part question. Number one, I'm sure that the benefits sound like they're definitely there to support that. And as you mentioned when you did the dance, you can't put your finger on any particular situation, but it is a real plus. Yeah. Now, tell me, I have a question.
Well,
what level of research is it going to any other higher place in terms of how they can implement and utilize this not sonar, what do you call it?
Technology,
the technology,
the pulse electromagnetic, actually it's called basal motion, increasing vascular therapy.
Okay.
Yeah.
To bring it up to an even higher level, like is BEMER or BEMER, pronounced BEMER in
U.S.
U.S. Is there continuing research to try to integrate that into the age-old? It's funny, right? It's almost like a rim shot. The age-old question of aging.
Yeah.
Can we stop aging? Can we improve? Can we, extend our lifespans?
We can certainly live a longer, healthier life with good microcirculation. You talk about issues, anything related to blood flow. What if someone has if someone has a blood sugar issue, they're really having terrible times with blood flow.
Sure.
If they're aging, they're having terrible times with blood flow.
Right.
And what happens is there's inflammation as well. I mean, these things affect microcirculation, and something's got to get in there. For example, for athletes,
yes,
we find you get a 10% better result after 8 minutes on the BEMER. For example, I can't use third-party testimonials.
Yeah.
But I can, if someone wants to call and talk to me, I can hook them up with people that can give their testimonials.
Yes.
But we're seeing, blood flow affects kidney function, gut function, heart function, lung function, eye, ear, nose, throat function, joint function. That's all blood flow related. Well, if we're increasing blood flow in a non-invasive, healthy way with no known side effects,
right,
and increasing the mitochondria, the cell furnace, increasing that to produce more energy for the body to function, well, then what's...
So am I correct in thinking that at this point in time, with that technology, with this device, with this availability that's obviously available to the public.
To the public, yes.
We probably talked about, it's probably like out of pocket, right? Not necessarily recognized. It has been.
It is in Europe, but
okay, yeah, right.
This is a 26-year-old company.
So I would only imagine that, again, I'm an optimistic, hopeful guy for everybody.
Yeah.
That can change its position, be able to be more out there and available, and a more knowledge and even more results in terms to be brought to another level. And I'm sure that the 26-year-old company, that's what they probably have their eye on.
Well, we just came out with a new unit.
Okay.
This will be the second year in July. And this unit is really a step above the unit I started with.
Mm-hmm. But Kevin, just so I don't forget before we wrap up here, what's the best website to get to start the information?
Well, there should be a website.
It'll be on your show notes. But do you
yeah.
remember the exact website?
It's Kevin Lawler. Well, I can.
Well, here, no. Just do you have a BEMER.com, whatever, like just to start, or?
Yeah, you can do that. That's a generalized website, but that won't get you a lot of the personal stuff that I can do. See,
we'll look at your show notes and stuff.
And I give sessions to people to demonstrate on them at the Kettering Rec Center.
Okay.
Wednesday nights.
Okay, and so you're doing these kind of demonstrative talks to have educate people more about it.
And this is what you want to understand is, I educate people. They either lean in or they don't.
Sure.
It's not about pushing something on somebody.
You're talking to the choir here.
Yeah, it's not about pushing. It's about loving people.
Right.
and it's about
Showing
education.
them options.
And they may not be able to comprehend it at this time. They may
Sure.
not see the value at this time,
Right.
but they know people who are suffering. So every time I show this or share this with someone, where someone else knows, one more person knows about it.
Right,
And that's
right.
my goal. You
Sure.
know about it. Well, Kevin, don't you have to sell? Well, yeah, I do quite well. Thank you very much. And it's not by pushing it. It's by letting the product, the device, show its own value.
What population of people do you work with primarily? Is there any major group that's really found that you find that's been engaging you
Well,
or returning to you or being referred to you?
Yeah, I had a local doctor here that I've worked with has been a great proponent of BEMER. He uses it. It's helped him greatly. He says, everybody over 60 needs one of these. It's really non-optional.
So it's, I mean, obviously
And
it has
50s,
benefits, but
I got it in my 50s and it changed my life. I'm healthier now, 7 years later, than I was years ago, mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially. And there's one of the things, as a pastor, I had to look at this from a social justice side. How can this is not necessarily a cheap unit. It's not outrageous. Some of these crazy units are $50,000. This one comes in a mere, $4,500, and it's cheap.
yeah.
For some of the last 20 years,
Yeah.
and they'll do a whole family and what it does. So one of the things is we have a referral bonus program that if people help us share the word, they
Sure.
can get theirs paid for.
Sure.
And that is what helped me from a social justice standpoint. If you either got equity or sweat equity, if you want one badly enough, and there are people who do that
Sure.
quite often.
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, right? That's kind of Americana classic,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
In terms of from you talking about a small business owner, or
Yeah.
you're like, okay, I believe that from what I've come to recognize and who I hear this information from, blah blah blah. There's always alternatives to, right? Expand potential your wellness and have to especially people that are dealing with issues that have have gone through all the stages of trying to say, okay, what can I do? And to what would you have to? You would have probably nothing to lose exploring some.
It's really, BEMER has
experience.
It's what's interesting. We have a 30-day return policy.
Now, can you actually can anybody go somewhere and actually get scheduled sessions and not necessarily buy a unit?
Oh yeah, they can call me and schedule some sessions, or they can rent one.
And is that like how's that work? Do you have a location they go to, or
They can talk to me and we set things up.
Okay.
I do stuff at Kettering Rec Center on Wednesday nights, 6:30. But they can reach me through my website. They can, I think my number's on there.
Yeah, we'll put all that information on the show
and
notes.
let me educate them. And again, it may not fit for them, but they'll know somebody.
Yeah.
And that's the joy of finding people and watching their lives turn around. And February 8th at St. Leonard's at the Station House Restaurant, we're having a seminar that people are welcome to come to.
Nice.
And that is, I'll be lunching. Lunches that tickets are on sale through Eventbrite, and I can get you that information.
Okay. But, so I'm sometimes these we record and it comes out maybe a little later than the date. Right?
Oh, okay. Well,
so that being said, obviously you can provide information for future dates and opportunities, right? Right.
I didn't know when this was coming out.
Yeah. So we usually put it in the can and we get it out there as soon as possible.
That's fine. But so just want people to know there's opportunities for education and and get a hold of me.
Yeah.
Because I do a lot of stuff. I had
You're
an
here.
office.
Do you have like the Dayton area?
Dayton, Cincinnati, Columbus, Indianapolis.
Okay.
I've got distributors throughout those areas that I can refer people to.
And getting back to the podcast here, and I got one more question for you, Kevin.
Yeah.
What looking back, what would you tell your younger self? This podcast is all about trying to inspiring young lives, particularly.
Yeah.
But also, having people reflect on, and I'm always just looking for nuggets. Again, what do you think that you would tell your younger self?
What did Winston Churchill say? When you're going through hell, keep going. that's it's one of the things Dr. Mays used to tell me.
Kevin, that's a good one. That's powerful.
Came from a great man.
What did Dr. Mays say?
What did he say? I just all of a sudden lost it. But anyhow, Churchill said that, and
that gets back to that polarity and accepting, right? That life is, it's very difficult, because I will shoot off to another, Eastern philosophy where the Buddhists say life is sorrowful.
It's suffering. It's dukkha, is
and
what the Buddha says.
If those three words, life is sorrowful, if you can't wrap your head around that and accept that, you're going to have a hard time, because the art of living is obviously getting through those hard times. To find the joy or begin to work on trying to create joy for yourself while you're in the midst of that, what we call
joyfulness
hell.
Is different than happiness.
Yeah.
And we get that confused.
Yeah.
For me, as a pastor, as a follower of Jesus, I have a joy that transcends.
Sure.
And a joy that every tear will be wiped away. And that does not seem to be a false hope for me. But at the same time, we're living on this earth, we're living in this plane, and God trusts us right here, right now. He trusts us with our money, with our time and talents to do the best we can, to do what we do to follow Him and to serve humanity.
Right.
And that's why I do what I do. I've always been called to in service in one way or another.
That's exactly why I had you on a guest, Kevin, because this. If you look at all my buzzwords up here, we're talking about knowledge, experience, humanity, science, community, purpose, wisdom. You bring that in full, and I just have to say that it's been great having you.
Well, it's a pleasure. I want to add one more thing.
Go ahead.
And this is, I remembered, Dr. Mays, you say, Kevin, it's your curiosity that saved you. Stay curious.
That is stellar, my friend. Stay stellar, because, and I knew this was going to be great. You hit it right on the head. For me, 2 words that I remember when I was probably 5 years old or something. I can remember this. 2 words I still carry on today. What if?
That's exactly what was going through my head when I was looking at anything. What if?
What if? If you're not curious, the what ifs cannot develop into possibilities and even the opportunities for finding a true potential, or nailing down what you feel at any given time in your life. That next step is that purpose and community, and that, like you say, that joy of hope and optimism.
And hope and optimism. My younger self was one. If you're going through hell, keep going, but it can get better. I just turned 64 Sunday.
Yeah,
I don't feel it.
Right.
I'm coming together. I'm coming into my own. So
nice.
I've remade myself several times. You can always remake yourself.
Right.
Retail, floral, small business. Then it was another business owner. Real estate. Then I wasn't cut out to be I didn't want to be that kind of stuff. I'm not a mogul. But just called into the ministry, and then now the ministry of what I'm doing now.
Right. Well, Kevin, again, it's been a real treat. Thank you so much. Continue good work. Everybody, listeners, check out Kevin's information. He's got some interesting stuff. So, all right, Kevin, I'll see you around the community, my friend.
I look forward to it.
All right, you take care.
Peace to you.
All right, kids, till next time, bye-bye. We want to thank you, listeners, for all your support, your ongoing efforts to become a brand ambassador for Imagine Fitting In. There's a number of ways that you can support our efforts here. Number one is share it on your social media link. Share the episode, please. And be sure to hit the link, hit the subscribe button on YouTube. And we are also available on Apple and Spotify. And number two, you can please consider making any donation that you feel comfortable with. It's always appreciated to advance our efforts here and even increase the level of production and bring you more and more great guests from here in Dayton, across the country, and even around the world. So thank you again for those who have donated to date, and you can find the link in our show notes. And then finally, number three, I love the idea of guest referrals. So if you know anyone who has a great story, would like to share their efforts in the community, about their work, their contributions, their efforts, from all mediums. We love a good story. Mentors playing a huge role in all of our lives. And here at Imagine Fitting In, we're trying to highlight the importance of mentors and encourage more of that, the same, to our young people in this community and potentially, extended area. And please consider that. We'd love to hear from you. Again, the show notes, you can reach me at thebalancedprofessor@gmail.com, and we hope to hear from you. So again, we hope you enjoyed this episode. It's always a blast. I feel it's a pleasure and an honor and privilege to be doing what I'm doing. So I look forward to hearing from you. And again, please enjoy, share, subscribe, donate, and become a brand ambassador, and even just refer a guest. So thanks again. You take care. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.
Professor.